What we walking for?
Peace.
Peace. Do you like peace?
Yes.
Do you have peace?
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes.
How?
Meditate.
How do you have peace? How you feel? Peaceful. Yeah, happy. Yeah. I feel happy too. When I walk, I feel I have peaceful already. Because I see everyone. I see your smile when I'm walking. Someone's crying. But you cry with peaceful. You know, everyone, when they are happy and they cry. When you are suffering, you cry too. But I think in your life, you cry when you have painful suffering. But for the peaceful, not many people. But when we walk, I saw your cry and I feel like, oh, that is the right way, what we have to do. But, we walk to inspire everyone to have peace, to remind everyone to have peace. Because the peace is in our minds already. But we block it. Like Panyakala, he like to say, we keep the peace in the box. You don't open the box of the peace. Why the peace not coming out? But we try to give you the key to open that box, to open your mind. If you open your mind, you will have peace. Okay? How about that key? That key, before we have peace, we should have loving kindness, compassion, hope, unity, But how we get that? How we get the loving kindness? We have to practice. It's not like we cannot have like automatic. But we have to practice about mindfulness. The mindfulness, that is the key to have the loving kindness, and we have this later. But how to practice about mindfulness? Do you heard about Pate Panyakala talk? You know that? Did you listen about his talk online or in front of him? But do you follow him? A lot. You practice. You practice like what he said. I want to remind you again about how to practice mindfulness. But we have two techniques to introduce everyone when we walk, like 27 days on 90 97, 98 or something. I don't 98 already. I only enjoy my walk. I don't remember. You know, when I'm walking, I really enjoy about that. 98 already. When he teach about the mindfulness, he taught like two techniques. You know, number one is when we breathe in and breathe out, we concentrate to the nose. You know, we pay attention to that. We concentrate. We focus to the breathe in and breathe out. Try to whatever the thoughts pop up, you know, try to ignore them or to let it go. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you smell, whatever you taste, whatever you touch, you know, it's in the mind. You try to let it go and focus to the breathing and breathe out. Try to practice like that. But the other techniques I use for myself, I have experience about that because my mind is like at first it's like monkey mind, like he said. My mind never stays still, but I try to practice this technique. It's really easy to practice about the counting the number. Counting the number is really easy, and when you forget, you know you forget it. It's because you lost it. Yeah, counting the number like when you breathe in and number one, breathe out number one. Try to remember how to number one. Breathe in number two, breathe out two. Breathe in three, breathe out three. Breathe in four, breathe out four. Breathe in five, breathe out five. And return to the number one again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once again. 1 to 7, 1 to 8, 1 to 9, 1 to 10. If you have time, you can take 1 to 5 again until 1 to 10. Or if you want to keep going 1 to 15, it's okay. Depends. But when you practice day by day, you know, week by week, one by month, and your feeling, you know by yourself about your feeling. Yeah. Your mind is like a calm down. When you speak, it's really like a soft. You know, you have mindful about whatever you do, whatever you see, you know, in your eyes. When you see, it's really mindful. When you see, when you hear, you have mindful. When you hear, when you smell, you have mindful. When you smell, when you taste, you have mindful with your taste. Or with your touch, you have mindful about that. And whatever you do in your family or you go to work, it's really like a soft and calm down. Whatever you contact with the co-worker or manager or supervisor or owner, when we work, we are so happy about that. This is the happiness arising in the minds already. And when you keep going and going, the mind is deeper and deeper. The mind is trying to make one smile. It's not, you don't think anything. You think only whatever you should think. Necessarily, you think about that. But the mind is come to be one mind. And that mind is open. When the mind is open, you feel like loving kindness alive in your mind. Usually, the people that you love only are husband or wife, kids, or children, parents, grandparents, or family. But this mind open, loving kindness, open with love, is unlimited. We feel all this world. We should love each other like you love yourself. I love myself, or you love yourself. Why we have to fight each other? We don't have to, because nobody want to die. Either you could get old age, 7 years old, or 8 years old, or 9 years old, but you don't want that to die. But why, when we still have strong, we have to fight with each other. We have to jealous with each other. We have to hatred each other. You don't have that in your mind, and that is loving kindness arise to the mind. Compassion arise to your mind, and we feel the people around this world are in our family. It's not in our country, like a universe, but maybe it's not maybe. It's over the human being, even the animal. The animal, they don't want to die. Why we have to kill them? Or they have a family like us. If we have this mind arising in our people, in the world, we should have peace than in the world. So why we want to take a walk? Because when we practice the mindfulness, the loving kindness is arising like automatic. You don't have to. You don't have. But when you practice, you don't wait for why my mind doesn't have the compassion, why my mind don't have the loving kindness, like the Buddhist monk tell me. You don't have to wait for that. Usually you have to practice every day, in the morning or evening. It's arising by automatic. You don't need that. So this is my suggestion. This is my message for you today. But I would like to say thank you, everyone, to welcome us. And I ask you to go to Washington, D.C. with us. Okay, it's not far away from here. February 11, we will be in Washington already. Okay? Yeah. And do you write the statement that Patipanyatala asked you to write down in the morning? You know what he said. He said that today is going to be my peaceful day, right? Can you say together? I want to count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you so much.
We are all walking, whether we realize it or not. Every step we take through this beautiful, complicated, and often overwhelming world is a step on a deeply personal journey. We carry so much with us on this road: our hopes, our anxieties, the heavy burdens of yesterday, and the quiet, persistent yearning for a better tomorrow. Particularly in our fast-paced, modern lives, where we are constantly rushing toward the next deadline, the next achievement, or the next weekend, it is easy to lose sight of the ground beneath our feet. But if we were to pause the relentless momentum of our days and ask ourselves in the quietest, most honest corner of our hearts what we are truly walking toward, the answer is almost always the same: we are walking for peace. We want to feel a sense of ease when we wake up in the morning. We want to lay our heads on our pillows at night without the heavy armor of anxiety resting on our chests. Yet, if someone were to stop you on the street today and ask, "Do you have peace?" how would you answer? For many of us, the honest reply is a hesitant, sometimes. We feel it in fleeting moments: a quiet Sunday morning, the warmth of a good cup of coffee, a brief laugh with a friend. But it often feels like a fragile visitor, easily chased away by a stressful email, a traffic jam, or the harsh headlines on our evening news. However, there is a profound secret hidden in the simple act of taking a walk. When we step outside, leaving behind our screens and our endless to-do lists, and we just walk, something miraculous begins to happen. We realize that we do not have to exhaust ourselves chasing peace across the globe. We already have it. It is born in the gentle rhythm of our own footsteps. When we walk with intention, our eyes lift from the ground. We suddenly see the faces of the people passing by. We notice their smiles, the crinkles at the corners of their eyes, the shared humanity written in their expressions. It is true, we also see suffering. We see people carrying invisible burdens, and sometimes we see them crying. We, too, cry when the suffering of life becomes too sharp, when the pain of loss or disappointment pierces our hearts. Crying is a deeply human response to a world that can be breathtakingly hard. But we must remember that just as tears are a natural release for our pain, peace is the natural resting state of our souls. We often believe that peace is a rare anomaly, while suffering is the rule. But when we slow down and walk in awareness, even watching a simple fly buzzing in the air can become a profound teacher. It reminds us that there is a right way to live, a natural order to things, and that our fundamental nature is not chaos, but an abiding, beautiful tranquility. If this tranquility is our natural state, why does it feel so elusive? Why do we spend decades reading self-help books, downloading apps, and searching for a calm that seems to constantly slip through our fingers? It is because we misunderstand where peace resides. We treat it like an exotic treasure that we must capture from the outside world and bring into our hearts. But the profound truth of mindfulness is that the peace is already in our own minds. We are born with it. It is the quiet background canvas upon which all our chaotic thoughts are painted. The problem is not that we lack peace. The problem is that we have broken our conscious connection to it. Imagine, if you will, that your heart holds a sturdy, beautifully crafted box, and inside that box is the boundless peace you crave. By some tragic misunderstanding of how to protect ourselves in a demanding world, we have locked that box. We have taken the key of our own awareness, and we have buried it under piles of distractions, resentments, and endless busywork. We walk through our lives feeling impoverished, looking at the locked box and weeping because the peace is not coming out. We wonder why we feel so empty when the treasure is sitting right there in the center of our chest. Our spiritual teachers, our wise friends, and the quiet voice of our own intuition are constantly trying to hand us back the key. They are inviting us to open the box. But to open the mind, to truly unlock that inner vault, requires a profound shift in how we operate. It requires us to stop gripping so tightly to our grievances and our need to control every outcome. If you are willing to take the key and gently turn the lock, If you are willing to open your mind to the present moment without judgment, you will have peace. It is not a distant promise, it is an immediate reality. But peace does not emerge into a harsh, critical environment. Before the deep waters of peace can truly settle in our lives, we must prepare the ground. We must cultivate a soil rich with loving kindness, compassion, hope, and unity. These are not just pleasant ideas, they are the active, muscular qualities of an awakened heart. But how do we get them? How do we summon loving kindness when we are exhausted after a long day at work? How do we find hope when the world feels deeply fractured? We cannot simply order these qualities to appear on demand. We cannot magically summon patience when we are stuck in gridlock traffic, nor can we instantly generate compassion for someone who has deeply wronged us. These beautiful states of mind are not automatic settings on the human dashboard. They are the harvest of a deliberate, gentle practice. And the absolute foundation of this practice, the very ground beneath our feet, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the master key that opens the door to loving kindness, which in turn leads us to enduring peace. But how exactly do we practice this in our loud, fast-paced lives? We must first acknowledge the reality of our starting point. For most of us, our minds are not serene lakes, they are restless, energetic monkeys. Our thoughts swing wildly from the past to the future. We replay an awkward conversation from 3 years ago, and in the next breath, we are agonizing over a presentation we have to give next week. The mind simply refuses to stay still. To tame this incredible, exhausting mental energy, we need a technique, a gentle way to train the mind to come back home to the present. The first and most universal technique is to anchor ourselves to the breath. You do not need a special cushion, a quiet retreat in the mountains, or an empty schedule to do this. You simply need the air in your lungs and the nose on your face. When you breathe in, you place your entire, loving attention on the physical sensation of the air entering your nostrils. When you breathe out, you follow the sensation of the air leaving. You concentrate on this one, simple, vital act. Almost instantly, the monkey mind will rebel. Thoughts will pop up like fireworks. You will suddenly remember a bill you forgot to pay, or you will hear a siren outside, or you will smell coffee brewing in the next room. Whatever you see in your mind's eye, whatever you hear, smell, taste, or touch, all of these sensory experiences will try to pull you away. The practice is not to violently wrestle these thoughts to the ground or punish yourself for being distracted. The practice is a radical act of letting go. You notice the thought, you acknowledge the smell of the coffee or the sound of the siren, and then you gently, firmly loosen your grip on it. You let it go, and you softly guide your attention back to the simple miracle of breathing in and breathing out. Yet, there are days when the mind is a torrential storm, when simply watching the breath feels entirely impossible because we are immediately swept away by the current of our anxieties. For these deeply human days, there is a second, beautifully pragmatic technique, the practice of counting. It sounds almost too simple to be profound, but counting is a powerful anchor that gives the busy, problem-solving mind a constructive task to hold on to. When you take your first breath in, you silently say the number 1 in your mind. As you breathe out, you softly repeat 1. You are essentially labeling the cycle, tying your awareness to a numerical rhythm. Then, you breathe in 2. Breathe out 2. You continue this steady, climbing rhythm. Breathe in 3, out 3, in 4, out 4, in 5, out 5. When you reach 5, you do not keep climbing into the hundreds, turning it into an endurance test. Instead, you gently loop back to the beginning. 1 to 5, over and over again. If your mind is feeling a bit more spacious, you might stretch the count from 1 to 10, or perhaps 1 to 15. The specific number is not the magic is the continuous thread of attention. And here is the most important part of the practice, you will inevitably forget the number. You will reach 3, and suddenly find yourself planning your grocery list, and 5 minutes later, you will realize you have completely lost the count. When this happens, it is not a failure. It is actually a moment of profound awakening. The exact second you realize you have lost the count is the moment you have regained your mindfulness. You simply smile at your wandering mind, forgive yourself instantly, and return to number 1. It is a practice of infinite fresh starts. As you dedicate yourself to this rhythm, practicing it day by day, week by week, and month by month, a subtle but unmistakable transformation occurs. You don't have to wait for a booming voice from the sky to tell you it's working. You will feel it for yourself. The internal frantic pacing slows down. Your mind begins to calm. And as the mind calms, the way you interact with the entire world begins to soften. This inner softening does not mean you become passive or detached from your life. Rather, you become intimately, warmly engaged with it. Mindfulness is not a bubble we hide inside to escape the world. It is a lens through which we view the world with breathtaking clarity. When your mind is anchored and calm, every ordinary action becomes a mindful revelation. You realize that you have to be deeply present for whatever you do. When you look at the faces of your family members across the breakfast table, you don't just glance at them while checking your phone. You truly see them. Your eyes are full of mindful presence. When you listen to a friend pouring out their heart, you are not secretly formulating your response. You are offering them the pure, healing sanctuary of your undivided attention. You become mindful of the aromas in your kitchen, the complex tastes of your meals, and the physical sensation of your feet touching the floorboards. This quality of gentle, deliberate presence follows you out the front door and into the bustling arenas of your daily life. When you go to work, you carry this soft, calm energy with you. In environments that are often defined by stress, deadlines, and friction, your grounded presence becomes a quiet revolution. Whether you are speaking with a coworker, receiving instructions from a manager, or dealing with an irate customer, you respond from a place of spaciousness rather than reacting from a place of defensiveness. The frantic urge to rush, to prove yourself, to win every minor argument begins to dissolve. You find yourself feeling a strange, bubbling happiness right in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon at the office. This happiness is not dependent on a promotion or a vacation. It is the natural joy that arises in a mind that has stopped fighting reality. As you keep going, sinking deeper and deeper into this practice, the mind coalesces into a profound state of oneness. You are no longer fragmented by 1,000 competing worries. Your mind is open, clear, and vast like the sky. And it is within this vast, open sky of the mind that the true miracle of our human capacity is revealed. When the heavy doors of the ego are finally thrown open, you are suddenly overwhelmed by the feeling of loving kindness coming fully alive within your own heart. It is a profound, expansive shift in how we relate to the universe. In our ordinary, unexamined lives, our love is fiercely localized. We naturally love our husbands, our wives, our precious children, our aging parents, and our loyal friends. We draw a tight circle of affection around our families and fiercely protect those inside it. But the loving kindness that blossoms from deep mindfulness is fundamentally different. It refuses to be confined by the walls of our homes or the borders of our neighborhoods. When the mind opens, the heart opens with it, and this love becomes gloriously unlimited. You find yourself walking down the street, looking at strangers, people whose names you will never know, whose backgrounds are entirely different from yours, and you feel a sudden, striking kinship with them. You realize, with crystal clarity, that this entire world is a shared home, and we should love each other with the exact same tenderness and dedication that we reserve for ourselves. If I love myself, and I wish to be safe, happy, and free from pain, and you love yourself and wish for the exact same things, then why on earth do we spend so much of our energy fighting each other? We are all walking the same precarious, beautiful human journey. Not a single one of us wants to suffer. We are all deeply vulnerable to the realities of our biology. Whether we are 7 years old, exploring the world with wide eyes, or 70, 80, or 90 years old, feeling the ache of our aging bones, the core desire remains the same. We want to live, and we do not want to die in fear or pain. Knowing this undeniable, universal truth, it becomes heartbreakingly absurd that while we still have our strength and our fleeting time on this earth, we choose to fight. We choose to be jealous of our neighbors. We choose to harbor hatred for people who disagree with us. But when your mind is steeped in mindfulness, there is simply no room for that hatred to take root. Loving kindness naturally crowds out the jealousy. Compassion rises up like a tide, washing away the petty grievances. You look at the billions of people on this planet, and instead of seeing competitors or enemies, you see a vast, extended family. This profound expansion of the heart does not stop at the edges of the human race. True compassion, once awakened, flows outward to touch every living thing that shares this fragile earth. We begin to look at the animals, the creatures that fly in the sky, walk on the land, and swim in the oceans, and we recognize that they, too, are driven by an innate, desperate will to live. They do not want to die. They experience fear, they feel pain, and they have bonds and families just as we do. When we truly comprehend this, the thought of inflicting unnecessary violence upon them, of taking their lives lightly, becomes utterly incompatible with a peaceful heart. If this profound respect for life, this deep, arising compassion, could take root in the minds of people across the globe, the world would be transformed overnight. If we saw every living being as part of our own family, the very concept of war would become an unthinkable horror of the past. Why would we ever invest our resources, our brilliance, and our youth into the machinery of war if we understood our deep, undeniable interconnectedness? We would realize that dropping a bomb on a distant nation is, in reality, dropping a bomb on our own living room. And the most empowering truth of this entire journey is that we do not have to wait for world leaders to mandate peace, nor do we have to wait for our own minds to magically perfect themselves before we begin. We don't have to sit in frustration, wondering why we lack the effortless compassion of a great spiritual teacher. Compassion is not a lottery we win, it is a muscle we build. You simply have to practice every day. Whether you sit in the quiet dawn of the morning or the still reflections of the evening, you do the work. You breathe, you count, you return, and as you do, the peace arises naturally. The deep wisdom of the universe has already designed it to be so. We do not need to invent peace, we only need to uncover it. This is the ultimate invitation that calls to each of us. It is an invitation to take this inner practice and walk it out into the world, to join with others, just as those who walk in pilgrimage to Washington, D.C. carry their steps of peace to the very heart of the nation. We have the power to honor the great peacemakers of our past, figures like Martin Luther King Jr., not just by remembering their words, but by living their truth in our daily lives. We can look at the day ahead of us, with all its potential chaos and conflict, and make a firm, joyful declaration: today is going to be my peaceful day. And with every mindful breath, and every compassionate step, we make it so.